Welcome back my kings and queens, and welcome to this video where we will go ahead and create some low poly barrels. I try to keep it as beginner friendly as possible, but if I should forget any key that I pressed, you can always see the keys that I pressed at the bottom left of my screen. The barrel creation is a small part of my full step-by-step beginner course where we have created this complete low poly forest house scene, so if you're interested in this, you can go ahead and check this out. Now let's go ahead and start modeling the barrels. So in a new Blender scene, you can first go ahead and press A to select all, and then press X to open up the delete menu and go ahead and click on delete, because we don't need the camera, we don't need the light, and we actually do not need the cube, because we will go ahead and model the barrel out of a cylinder. To add in a cylinder to the scene, you can go ahead and press Shift and A to open up the add menu, then head over to mesh, and at the right side you can go ahead and click on cylinder to add in a cylinder to the scene. Now if you would go ahead and zoom in into the scene by scrolling on the mouse wheel, and you can go ahead and rotate your view by pressing the mouse wheel and moving your mouse, you can see that the cylinder is way too high poly because it has way too many vertices. And after placing in the cylinder into this Blender scene, and without going to the edit mode or clicking somewhere to the scene, you have this menu at the bottom left, which you can open up by pressing on this arrow right here. And right here you can go ahead and perform some changes to the cylinder that we have added in. At the top, for example right here, you can go ahead and change the vertices count, and go ahead and change the vertices all the way down to 10. And now like this, the cylinder looks already low poly, which is exactly what we need. And you can just go ahead and leave the other settings untouched. Now let's go ahead and go into the edit mode of the cylinder. You can go ahead and access the edit mode when the cylinder is selected, which you can see on the orange outline right here, and then go ahead and press tab to go into the edit mode. Now let's go ahead and scale up the cylinder a little bit to make this a little bit higher. To do this, you will go ahead and press S for scaling, and as we only want to scale up the cylinder to make it higher, we can go ahead and after pressing S, go ahead and press Z, and like this, we can only scale up the cylinder on the Z axis, which is exactly what we need. So go ahead and move your mouse a little bit to scale up the cylinder on the Z axis, and I will go ahead and scale up the cylinder to a point around here. Then I will go ahead and press left click to apply the scale. Alright, now we want to make the barrel a little bit wider. To do this, we first need to add in some geometry. And the way to do this right here would be to add in a loop cut. You can go ahead and add in a loop cut while hovering with your mouse over this edge right here, for example, and then pressing Ctrl and R to start adding in a loop cut. But as we need the cylinder to be wider at the top right here, in the middle and at the bottom right there, we need 3 loop cuts. Now we could go ahead and place this loop cut, then add in another one right here and another one at the bottom, but it would be easier to just go ahead and scroll up your mouse wheel 2 times to add in 3 cuts at the same time. After scrolling up your mouse wheel, you can go ahead and press left click to apply the loop cuts, and now you're able to slide the loop cuts, but we want to leave the loop cuts in the middle where they are, and you can go ahead and do this by pressing right click. Out of the top and the bottom loop cut, we will later go ahead and create the metal rings, and as we want the metal rings to be a little bit higher and lower, we again need to scale up these loop cuts on the Z axis, and this is exactly like we already scaled up the cylinder on the Z axis. So let's go ahead and repeat this by pressing S for scaling, and then Z to be only able to scale this up on the Z axis, and go ahead and scale them up a little bit to a point around here, and press left click to apply the scale. Then now, to make the cylinder wider like we wanted it to have in the first place, you can just go ahead and press S for scaling, and you do not have to press any axis, so just go ahead and scale this up to a point around here at first, and then go ahead and press Alt and A to deselect all, so that we can go ahead and only select this loop of vertices right here, and you can go ahead and select a complete loop of vertices by hovering with your mouse over an edge inside of the loop, holding Alt and clicking left click on this edge. Now again go ahead and press S and scale this up a little bit to a point around here. And now this already starts to look like a real barrel. So now let's go ahead and add in the metal rings to this barrel. Go ahead and press Alt and A again to deselect all. And now we need to select the top loop and the bottom loop right here, and you just go ahead and do this the exact same way like we already selected the middle loop right here. So go ahead and hold Alt, hover with your mouse over an edge in the top loop, so for example this edge right here, and press left click. And now to be able to select another loop while already one loop is selected, you first need to go ahead and hold shift and then just go ahead and repeat the same process. So go ahead and also hold alt and click on an edge inside of the bottom loop. Now of course we do not want the metal ring to be only as wide as one single edge. So before we can go ahead and extrude the metal rings out, we need to make sure that this area right here gets wider. And you will go ahead and do this by adding in a bevel. You can go ahead and add in a bevel by pressing Ctrl and B and then go ahead and move your mouse to increase the bevel size and just go ahead and increase it to a point around here and then go ahead and press left click to apply the bevel. Then as the metal ring needs to have a different material than the wood, you can just go ahead and press P to open up the separate menu and go ahead and click on selection to create a new object containing all of these faces right here. Go ahead and press tab to leave the edit mode, press alt and A to deselect all and then go ahead and select the top metal ring right here to select the complete object of the metal rings and press tab to go into the edit mode of the metal rings. Now the next thing that we want to create is some depth to the metal rings. So in other words, you want to extrude them out. So the first thing that you need to do is to select all and you can go ahead and do this by pressing A. And as you have a circular shape, you're not able to press E to extrude them out. So don't follow me for the next step, but if you would go ahead and press E to extrude, you can see that it only extrudes on the x-axis right here right now. But if you go ahead and disable the axis, you can see that it still does not work like we wanted to have. So now I will go ahead and press right click and then Ctrl and Z to undo the extrusion. And the correct way to do this right here would be to press Alt and E to open up the extrude menu. And right here you can go ahead and select extrude faces along normals. And when you go ahead and move your mouse up, you can see that the faces get extruded exactly like we want them to extrude. So go ahead and extrude them just to a point around here and press left click to apply the extrusion. Alright, now we want to scale down each metal ring separately on the Z axis, and the way to do this is of course to press S and Z to scale it down on the Z axis, but with both metal rings selected you can see that both metal rings get scaled down on the Z axis, with the origin of the scale being the middle of the object, which is not quite correct. So go ahead and press right click to cancel the scale, and we first need to go ahead and change the pivot point in this case. You can go ahead and access the pivot point menu by pressing period, and right now the pivot point is set to median point like we saw when scaling it down on the Z axis. And now to scale down the metal rings separately, just go ahead and select individual origins as our pivot point, and now you can go ahead and press S and Z and move your mouse to scale this down completely separately on the Z axis to a point around here. Then judging from this view right now, I think we have extruded this a little bit out too much, so go ahead and press S and move your mouse to the left side to scale this a little bit inwards to a point around here to make it look like this. Alright, then let's go ahead and press tab to leave the edit mode, click somewhere into the scene to deselect all, and we are already ready with the metal rings. But now let's go ahead and add in some more details to the wood. So go ahead and click on the bevel itself, press tab to go into the edit mode, and let's go ahead and create the top. To create the top, you can go ahead and press 3 to go into the face selection mode, which you also can go ahead and change at the top right here, and click on this face right here to select the face. And now we want to add in some depth to the outer wood parts right here, or in other words, make this face a little bit smaller. And you do this with the inset function, and you can go ahead and access the inset function by pressing I, and then go ahead and move your mouse in all the way to a point around here and press left click to apply the inset. Now let's go ahead and extrude this face down. So go ahead and press E, and when this blue line appears, the extrusion is already focused on the normal of the face, and the normal of this face in this case is the Z axis, and we want to extrude the face down on the Z axis, so we can just go ahead and extrude this down with the blue line, and go ahead and extrude it down all the way to a point around here and press left click to apply the extrusion. Now as this face right here should be a darker color than the wood color of these faces right here, you can also go ahead and press P again to open up the separate menu and go ahead and click on selection to create a new object containing this face. And of course you could go ahead and redo the same stuff at the bottom right here, but as I'm only going to create some standing bevels, I do not need to model the bottom. Then from right here to deselect this object right here, go ahead and press tab to leave the edit mode, press Alt and A to deselect all, and then go ahead and again select this object right here and press tab to go back into the edit mode. Now let's go ahead and add in our last details. And what we want to do now is to add in some variations to this wood parts right here. So let's go ahead and, for example, separate these two wood parts right here, and you will go ahead and do this by pressing 2 to go into the edge selecting mode. Then go ahead and select this edge right here and add in a bevel to this edge, and you go ahead and add in a bevel by pressing Ctrl and B. Then go ahead and move your mouse to increase the bevel size, and go ahead and increase it to a point around here, and then go ahead and scroll up your mouse wheel one time to add in one more segment to the bevel, and go ahead and press left click to apply the bevel. Then from it here you can go ahead and select this edge right here, and now we want to delete this edge. So you go ahead and press X to open up the delete menu, and go ahead and click on vertices to not only delete the edge but to also delete the connecting vertices. So now we have separated both of the wood parts, but we have a hole right here, and you can go ahead and fill this hole by selecting this edge right here and pressing F to create a face with all of these three edges right here, and then go ahead and select this edge right here and press F again to create a face. Alright, then from right here you can just go ahead and repeat the stuff all around the loop to add in some more variations. Alright my kings and queens, and from right here you're already finished with a basic low poly barrel. Now from right here you could also go ahead and add in some more details, so for example add in details to the metal rings right here, but I will go ahead and leave this up to you on how to create this. And if you have managed to create this and want to share your knowledge, just go ahead and leave a comment on how you have done it. And as a small tip for you, I can go ahead and show you the topology of the metal ring, and as a second tip for you, I can say that I have made it using the bevel. Alright my kings and queens, if you want to learn even more about low poly modeling, you can go ahead and check out my full step-by-step course for beginners in Blender, where I will not only go ahead and show you all of the functions that Blender has to offer, but we will also go ahead and create this low poly forest house scene from the complete start to the final render, modeling a bunch of assets, making sure that you learn a lot of Blender. So go ahead and check this course out with the link in my description, and do not forget to join my Discord server, where you can go ahead and ask me and my community every question that you should have, and we will go ahead and help you in no time. So my kings and queens, this is it for this video. Have fun creating some more low poly barrels, and I will see you in the next video.